You're telling me?
Yeah, I'm telling you that. I'm surprising. I mean, not intentionally, but
Any surprise is a good surprise. Anyway, so that was fun. He's a lot different than I am, but he's also a lot different off camera. He's actually really, really funny. There are very few people that will like genuinely crack me up. Stephanie's like that too. She's really, really funny, but the world doesn't always see it because she has such a serious job. She's a war correspondent, or was.
right.
Those people aren't funny. Plastic surgeons aren't funny, but he's
We
a
should
funny
get her back
guy.
on the show, by the way. Now.
Steph?
Yeah.
I would love to, but how is that going to happen? It's the middle of her workday. Although, we're not doing a show Wednesday. I was going to say she's off on Wednesday. All right, we'll figure it out.
Speaking of the next debate is next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, guys.
Yeah.
What
So,
time? 9 o'clock.
9 p.m. So no interference with sports or anything. Or
What do you mean?
maybe
The Blue Jays will probably be playing in the World Series, but other than that.
I mean, if the Blue Jays make it to the World Series, I will acknowledge them. How about that?
Okay, yeah, well.
I can't believe how hot. It really is so hot up here. All right, so anyway,
I mean, the whole country of Canada is waiting for you to acknowledge them.
Listen.
Actually, we should
I could
probably
even.
lock
I'll
into
do it
the-
in French.
we
Bienvenue,
may
le pays
actually-
de Canada.
So, yeah. Like, we
On
shouldn't be
va
dis-
parler de baseball, le Blue Jays de Toronto. Je ne savais pas qu'il jouait. What am I doing? Who cares about French right now?
I don't know.
Anyway, thank you guys so much. Are we up? Are we rolling? Is this on?
We're up and on, yeah.
Okay,
So,
talk to me about who's in the
basically,
room. Let's go. Let's talk to some people. Who else is here?
Okay.
Ask me a question. Let's talk about anything. I'll say hi to you. I'll answer any question, even yours, Josh Glatt. I promise. Go, give it to me.
To be fair, tell Catherine to retweet the closing section. I can't figure it out. How are you doing? Marv, first of all, we were talking earlier about Jill Steinberger.
Yeah.
And she saed, "Hi, Dad."
Oh, it's because it's Marv's daughter.
She's Marvin's daughter. Right?
Gotcha,
Exactly.
gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Hey, Jill. I think
Um,
Jill works for Bulova Watches.
Boulevard.
Bulova. They should come sponsor our show.
Okay. We will reach out.
You know, Marv wants to come see the show. So, Marv, you're going to come next week
Marv,
after
you
the
have an open
holidays.
invitation. Just let us know.
Yeah.
Okay. Haley Smith. Definitely. We're back to Haley. She definitely wants Stephanie on the show.
Okay.
Frank
bring
Guerrero
Stephanie.
says thank you for today.
Frank.
He had so much fun on
You
the show.
did? I love that, Frank. Come back anytime. Bottoms up.
To go back through the other comments.
My dad probably left when my brother did.
I don't know. Well, what do you think about Billy Bush getting suspended? We discussed this earlier,
We actually
but we
talked
had
about
a
it.
lot of, like, well, that's, I think, one of the things is that probably our 2 o'clock hour are different people than our 11 o'clock
I
hour.
hope so. Otherwise, you guys really need to get out more.
Right.
What do I think about Billy Bush being suspended? You know, two schools of thought, one of which is that the show that he works for is the 9 a.m. hour of the Today Show. And the 9 a.m. hour caters towards, stay-at-home moms. Demographic is like 25, 35 to 54-year-olds. It's on from 9 to 10. That's who's watching the show. And it's, that whole conversation that took place on that bus was extremely vile, and it was tough for any woman to really listen to and watch, and so derogatory towards women. So clearly, whether he meant it or not, whether it was locker room talk or not, whether he was trying to impress the Donald, whether the Donald was trying to impress the Billy, whatever it was, it took place, it happened, he said it, he reacted, if you watch the whole video, and there was a lot of backlash, and I think a lot of people wrote in and called for him to be reprimanded in some fashion, however that, whatever that looks like, and whether it's a suspension or an all-out firing. I guess they'll decide. They'll make a decision.
Haley here is asking about how, when you were talking with Michael, you said that you did have this one thing about how you guys became more friends when you were adults.
Yeah, because we used
And
to,
she's asking for you to go a little more into that.
Well, I'm sure most kids, most siblings, when they're little, it's like every sibling for himself. We used to always fight with each other about everything. We didn't want to share. We teased each other. We taunted each other. We were each other's only friends for the most part because people came and went. We lived on an island. We grew up on an island. The first 15 years of our lives were spent in Jamaica and Haiti. And I never saw him as like a real person. I saw him as my little baby brother. And he probably saw not me as a real person. He only saw me as his annoying older sister. And then all of a sudden one day, he had 2 little boys of his own. He gets married and he has 2 kids. And then I do the same and I have 2 kids. And And suddenly
He got married before you,
he
obviously.
got married before me. He had 2 kids before I had before we
How
had
old are his
Harper.
kids?
His kids, Max is 5 or 6 now, and Alec is 4. So he has a 6 and a 4, and we
Okay.
have a 3 and a 20-month. But they have 2 boys, we have 2 girls. And in like 2 years, they're all going to be best friends because Quinny will be able to have an actual conversation and she'll be able to join the fray. But it's good. Like, I love my brother. It's the 2 of us, you know, and it's going to always be the 2 of us. And we went through a lot together. And we, not often you can say, you know, you left a war-torn country in the middle of the night because the U.S. government basically begged you to and told you you had to, and we had to start a new life relatively
Oh, is that the story
quickly.
behind it? Can we go into that a little bit?
Yeah, it was the political strife in 1986, 87, 88 when the Duvalier regime, which is a dictatorship, but it was a stable dictatorship, but they were ousted from the country for what Haitians were fed was democracy and how great. People wore t-shirts that said 4 more years, but democracy can't just plop down onto your country. It has to be organic and has to grow, and people have to understand what it's all about. And the U.S. government, from my understanding, and again, I might have some of this off. My dad can explain it better. They backed, and I was Bill Clinton. They backed a guy named Jean-Bertrand Aristide, I believe. Aristide came down, right? Jean-Bertrand. Anyway, he came down, and he wasn't nearly as kosher as everyone thought he was. He didn't do right by the country at all, but the country didn't know any better. Their options were a dictator in the Duvalier regime or this Aristide, and they put all their hopes and dreams into Aristide, and he steered the country very, very wrong. Anyway, before all that happened, as the Duvalier regime was leaving, he had a group of military, his military entourage, but large military entourage. They were called the Tonton Macoutes. And there was when they left, there was a lot of like uprising and uproar, and they were looting houses, and everybody was in danger, and anyone that was related to the Duvalier regime were forced out immediately out of the country, and it was just chaos in Haiti. Anyway, we happened to live on the same street as the president's sister, the Duvalier's sister, and so at one point, a group of looters came racing up our street, shooting guns into the air, stormed through their house, looted everything, ran down the street with it. We had no idea whether we would be next. So the American government basically had us put an American flag outside our house on the gate so that they wouldn't touch us. I guess they would assume that we were being protected somehow. But it was scary. We were out of school for 6 weeks. There was just no school. We couldn't leave the house. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I believe my mom came home one day and they found bullet holes in her car. She wasn't hit, but it was like random fire, and my dad said, enough is enough, it's time, we need to leave. And they went up one weekend, they looked for the best school system, you know, in New York, because that's where my dad's offices were, and they wanted somewhere near my grandparents because we didn't know anything, we were just going to live near them. So we moved to Chappaqua, New York, and we basically started school the next week. So here I was, having lived in Haiti and knew really not much about the way things work in New York, and I was young and impressionable, and you move someone into the middle of 8th grade where cliques are forming, and girls and kids aren't always as nice to you as they could be. For my brother, it was easier. He moved the end of 5th grade, so he was still young enough to move right in. And I had a hard time in high school, a real, real hard time. You know, we wore uniforms in Haiti, and now suddenly we had to wear and compete with fashion up here. And I didn't really speak colloquial English. I spoke whatever English we spoke down there. So I had a tough 4 years, all kidding aside. And the only person, I mean this, really, the only person in high school that was so nice to me and believed in me when this, like, acne-crusted, terrible hair, big earrings, didn't know how to dress, didn't know how to talk, didn't look very good. When this kid walked around telling everyone that I was going to be on TV one day, I mean, that's what I said. I mean, no one took me to prom. I didn't have a ton of friends. One person believed in me and always said, of course you are. You're definitely going to be on TV. And that was my friend Marnie, who always writes in. She was the first friend I met in the United States. She believed in me from day one. She's my sister. She is like family to me, and that's why I always bring her up, because I will never forget it. I owe her everything. And that was our story. That's how we moved to the States, and it took me a good 4, 5, 6 years before I really grew into the person that I was going to become. But I did it. I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I wanted to be on TV in some capacity. I ended up being a sportscaster because I was always very athletic. My brother went on to become a doctor, and for 2 kids that grew up on an island with a mediocre education at best, and then came up to the States and had to find their way. I'd say we did okay for ourselves, and I'm so proud of my parents for the way they raised us. I know I've given you guys a lot of shit over the years, but let me tell you, I'm still proud of you.
So Marnie actually gives you some hearts. For those of you who are tuning in late, maybe you want to go into the John Rubenstein's segment.
So earlier on the show, we had a gentleman by the name of John Rubenstein who owns a wickedly successful talent management company here, represents a lot of famous actors that you know, and writers and musicians and all of it. They're a great management company. But on his side, like his side project, is his incredible passion for the country of Haiti, the impoverished nation, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. He does phenomenal work down there. He doesn't just give money or make one trip a year. He actually goes down and he wants to give tours, and he wants to bring tourism back and industry back, and he wants to really help the people. And they are a beautiful, resilient people, and I applaud him in so many different ways. My father actually still works down there. He travels back and forth. So I get it. I know what they're facing. They were ravaged by the hurricane, by the earthquake, but Mother Nature really hates this country. They do. So he does wonderful work down there in his spare time. Even though his management company is so successful, he still wants to do more and give back, and I'm so impressed by that. So we spoke to him, and he's got a couple of great nonprofit charities that you can donate to, or you can go down with him. He'll take anybody down on a tour. So that was a really engrossing, educating conversation for me, just because I know everybody down there. My friends, I have friends down there. That's where I lived. All my early pictures were from down there.
Well, actually, on that note, Trista was asking, why did you grow up in Haiti for 15 years?
So my grandfather on my dad's side, my grandfather Max, had a button factory in Puerto Rico. And when my dad, who graduated from Northeastern in Boston, when he graduated, my grandfather asked him if he would open up a factory in Jamaica, part of the same factory.
How'd your grandfather end up in Puerto Rico?
So he was partnered with this other gentleman, and they made leather buttons. And the other gentleman ran the offices in New York, and they needed to go down to an island. They wanted to open up business on the factory on an island to make the leather buttons, and they picked Jamaica in Puerto Rico. So my grandfather and my grandmother moved down to Puerto Rico. They were there for 25, 30 years. They were Puerto Ricans. I mean, they had my dad and my uncle and my aunt all down there. I'm not sure if my uncle was born down there. Anyway, my dad basically only spoke Spanish till he was 14. Came up. They sent him to Boston to go to Worcester Academy, and then he went to Northeastern. He graduated. My grandfather said, do me a favor, open up this factory in Jamaica. So right before he graduated, his college roommate was a guy named Steve, and it was finals weekend. My dad didn't have any finals. Steve did. Steve said, look, my girlfriend is coming up. Would you do me a favor? We'd just hang out with her while I study. I don't want her to cancel her trip. She doesn't have a ton of money. She's coming all the way up here. My dad says, yeah, no problem. So he entertains Steve's girlfriend for the weekend. And lo and behold, they fall in love, and they get married. It was my mom. And he convinces my mom, who had basically never left a little town in New Jersey called Fairlawn, to pick everything up and move down to Kingston, Jamaica, which at the time, I can't believe my grandmother let them. And they moved down to Jamaica. They had me and they had my brother. We were literally like the only two white babies ever born in this small little local hospital. We were there forever until there was political strife in Jamaica in like 1979, and they moved us to, at the time, what was a very calm, stable island of Haiti. And so then we were in Haiti making the leather buttons, and then there were problems there, and he moved up to the United States. Quite a story, huh?
Very interesting.
I'm
Okay.
literally going to have nothing to talk about by next week.
What do you mean? We're just getting started.
Are we?
Yeah.
Is
So
my life that interesting?
it is actually interesting. But I mean, like, one of the things that actually did come up here was this dichotomy of the dictator versus democracy, and
Yeah.
and how things were more stable in Haiti under dictatorship and
Right.
before democracy.
Because people don't know what they have until they don't have it anymore. And sometimes the grass isn't always greener, even though it would appear that way, even though the dictionary tells you it is, even though the rest of the world tells you it is. It's just hard to know.
I mean, you even had that like in Iraq recently.
Yes,
Like,
it's
you
the
did
exact
have
same
the
thing.
I mean,
You know
like
what?
the whole thing about the
100%.
democracy and dictatorships.
Yep.
It's a big issue in Africa. I mean, because
Yeah.
there's so many
You're
dictators
absolutely,
there. Right?
that's a phenomenal example. Iraq probably
Every
would have
once
been
in a
better off.
while, even a blind squirrel finds
It's
a
even
nut,
less
you
often
know?
than that. It's even less often than that, Lance. But yeah, that's the case.
Karen Lynn Spencer is talking about the blue sky here, and
It's stunning.
yeah, we don't know how we're doing this over here, but somehow we are getting a really good backdrop on our stories.
I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, that's not even photoshopped, you guys. That's just real stuff. Wow. We did really well.
Right. Actually, in terms of the Kirschenbaum daughters, Jill is actually the teacher.
Oh, I thought Jill works at Bulova.
I guess there's...
That's the other daughter.
Right.
Anyway,
so,
welcome to all the Kirschenbaum daughters.
So that's
And to Marv.
That's what we got.
Good. Well, anyway, my mom just texted to say that I was on Dr. Oz today, so I'm going to go figure out why I was on Dr. Oz today. Do we have a great show coming up tomorrow?
We are definitely hard at work on
Wait,
it.
what was the surprise?
Oh, so the surprise. Yeah, okay, so yeah.
I love surprises.
Surprises that I forget about. Yeah, so basically, we're trying to come up with what the right logo and everything for the show should be.
Yeah, I thought we were going to commission that out and make it a
Right, so we
contest.
actually did start a contest. We started on Saturday. We got to work on it, and so we're gonna have some designs and stuff. And if anybody wants to,
I love this. If anyone wants to participate and
submit, Connor's gonna figure out how to get the link up for the contest. It's on what's the name of that thing called?
It's on 99 Designs.
99designs.com.
Yeah. And
There's a website called 99designs.com.
99 design is the number 99.
Number
99 designs.
.com, and there's a Jenna Wolf thing, but there's a whole bunch. It's an interesting community of designers and stuff who design
Oh, cool. Well, if
logos
anyone
and
has an
things.
idea of what the design should be of our website, of our show, let's do it.
We've got 22 entries right now.
22 entries. It's fantastic.
So we're moving.
Yeah, and whoever wins, trust me, it's going to be awfully nice. I don't know.
Right. No, there's a whole through this site. Yeah, actually, they run contests. Like that's what they do. Like they get the designer gets paid. And all this
Oh,
stuff.
nice. There's
Yeah,
money
but
involved. I
yeah.
love that.
So that's the deal.
Very cool,
All right.
you
So we're
guys.
gonna be back tomorrow. We will have guests. I promise.
Yeah, we'll have people tomorrow. Otherwise, I mean, this just so
yeah,
you know,
we're trying to find the people that are around. There's this
On
concept between.
Columbus Day.
I think people have somehow a lot of people in New York have actually combined Yom Kippur, like schools
I know,
are
they took the
closed,
whole year
like you
off.
have Columbus Day.
Well, look,
So a lot of
we're
people
off
are
on
off.
Wednesday, but if no one wants to come sit next to me tomorrow, then we're not gonna.
I'm sure.
then
Well,
just
no,
come back
I'm working
Thursday.
on it, and we have people on for Thursday also booked. So we'll have an interesting show tomorrow, and everybody should come back. And
Awesome.
worst case, I think we found today that there's a nice thing with audience involvement for the first hour, so I'm thinking that we're going to extend that.
Yeah, so tune
I
in
like the
tomorrow. We'll
idea
talk
of
to you.
All
Thank
right.
you to everyone who listened. Thank you to everyone that was hanging out with us today. Connor is still dateless, but then again, so is Lance. And
Yes. So.
we will come back, reset, and do this all over again tomorrow. Have a great day,
Thanks
you
a
guys.
lot.
Fate loves the fearless.